What is up, y'all? Welcome into the Triple H podcast, Happy Hour Hoops, your one stop shop for enjoying a cold beverage and listening to our ice cold basketball takes. Donnie here with Jake, Micah, as always, ready to talk some hoops. NBA is officially back. We have seen a full week of basketball now. We've gone a full week. Jake, how you feeling? Are you excited for the show today?
Always excited for the show. Always my favorite part of the week. It's not next anymore. Also, we're going live right now. Always live right here. Yeah, no, it was we were treated to some crazy basketball in week one, which I feel like we should be used to at this point. I mean, the NBA is always chaotic, but we had a crazy week one. There were some crazy games, which I'm sure we'll get into. Dunny, we almost lost Dunny, I think, to a heart attack Wednesday night, opening night. I don't know. He wasn't he was not well during that game. And your Celtics, as we'll get into later, they've been having a lot of those games for you. I'm sure that you've been ready to go into that too. And they're not the only team though. There's been all sorts of really good basketball, some crazy dunks that we've seen already, some teams that are popping off that we didn't think that were going to pop off, some teams that we thought were going to look, dominant, stumbling out of the gate. So it's been a topsy-turvy start, at least, and I think that we got some storylines that we weren't really expecting to come out with. But how about you?
Yeah, I mean, I'm just excited we have everything back. I think opening night was just a good indication that we are going to get some madness because you saw the Brooklyn Nets kind of not even compete with Giannis and the Milwaukee Bucks in that first game, and then of course in the late game we had the Warriors upsetting King LeBron James and the Lakers, who are everyone's title favorite this year. So I like just how off rip we got some crazy excitement. And then as you mentioned, we have teams like the Chicago Bulls and the Charlotte Hornets really getting out to a hot start in the Eastern Conference, which surprised some. And then yeah, you mentioned it's the Western Conference is a little bizarre, other than the Golden State Warriors are obviously overperforming a bit. It's early, so we can't have too
I
many mega
don't.
reactions here, but
I think instead of saying overperforming, we should just say that we were right and
yeah,
they're just that
true.
good.
I
That's
mean, me
we
and
were
you were
right about
both
the Warriors.
very high on the Warriors. So
Very high on the
yeah, they're,
Warriors.
they're performing at our standards. They're
Our
performing
standards, the,
at the happy hour hoops level of play.
the rest of these
But
fools
yeah,
out here that didn't believe in the Warriors, that's on them. But we can't be
that
associated
is
with
that
that.
is a
We
that is a
we
personal
had
issue.
we had official rankings. They were number two. We're locking that in. I should have put more money on something with the Warriors. Yeah. So what do you want? What's the first thing? What do you want to get into first here? We've got some burning questions, things that we've noticed from week one. I mean, there's a lot of basketball being played, but what stood out to you the most?
Uh, I mean, this was almost like I feel like right before the season started, people, were kind of getting a hunch that this may happen. But the Chicago Bulls, man, winning again last
Mm.
night on Monday night, starting 4-0 now. I think everyone was real intrigued by the starting five they built this offseason, which is the obvious. Lonzo Ball, they got Zach Levine, um, I don't know, Vooch. I don't know why I just drew a blank. DeRozan, and then some sort of combination of Patrick Williams, Alex Caruso. So, the core of this team was there, and I think most were excited about that. But it really, we're starting to see that they can, they have that talented core and maybe then some because people were worried about this bench, but it seems like they've been performing up and down. Now start 4-0. Lonzo Ball looks comfortable in this new setting. The three guys of DeRozan, Levine, and Lonzo are real fun to watch play together. Maybe we weren't giving the Bulls even enough recognition, even though they were getting a ton of hype.
Yeah, like people were pretty extreme sides on the Bulls. It was either like they thought that they were just going to fall apart offensively or they were going to be like a top 4 seed in the East. And I feel like what we learned about the Bulls, the Bulls beat the Pistons twice, so I just want to preface that with that's the only thing that
that's
holds me
true.
a little bit is like, oh, like, you know, the Pistons were literally the worst team in the league last year. That's why the week one things, like, it's just like you could touch on everything week one. Like, you could make a disaster out of some team situation, and you could, you know, we could give the fucking Larry O'Brien to the Bulls here right now too if we wanted to, or Charlotte, put it in
Some
Charlotte
people do
too,
want to do that.
somewhere. Bulls fans do. That's why I put
Yeah.
this stat up. I was like 4-0 since '96. You know how they're feeling, bro. DeRozan looking with those little mid-rangers last night in that comeback, you know, against his old team. They were feeling some type of way seeing that. I think that's the biggest thing is DeRozan showed last night. They beat the Raptors in Toronto. Obviously, that's going to be an emotional game for him, anyways. But took over in the fourth quarter in a game that they were like, I don't know, just dragging in. Like they didn't look, you know, like they weren't stepping on their throat, letting the Raptors hang around. And I don't know, are the Raptors just good? I guess we'll get into that later when we talk about your Celtics, because I haven't watched enough Raptors
put a beat
yet.
down on them.
but DeRozan took over late game, and you know Lonzo's not a guy that's usually been in that position. Levine not really been in big games yet. Vooch is like, you know, you don't go to a big guy late in those games anyways. DeRozan's like, he's just going to be that dude for them this year. Like, you need somebody when nothing's going right. You know, DeMar is going to feel confident in that. I think that's what people underrated is the main point of it, is that DeMar, everybody wanted to hate on the DeMar contract and say it was a weird fit with Levine and everything. But last night was the exact reason. They needed an adult star on the court that these guys could look up to. And he's literally one of the perfect examples. And whether this team is actually first in the East or they're just a really solid contender in a conference full of fucking really good teams, which is, I think, was the biggest theme of the first week. I'm bullish on them, but
bullish on the Bulls.
Oh, I didn't even think about that. No, that's good. They play the Knicks tomorrow night, and tonight, if you're listening to this podcast, it'll be out tomorrow morning. That Bulls, Knicks, they're both good. I'm so excited for that, but that's a real game.
Yeah,
if they win that game, that's a big win, because beating the Pistons is nice. Beating the Raptors is nice. I can't remember who their other game was against, but yeah, I'm with you on Chicago.
Yeah, and I just feel like they're kind of, you know, I do think they're going to fall out of this one seed eventually. You know, that they'll have their times. Maybe they'll fall out of it and go back in it. I don't think they will finish atop the Eastern Conference, but they are kind of the perfect team for the hype. Like Alex Caruso almost brought he almost brought a bit of showtime from Los Angeles to the Chicago Bulls. Like, you watch the highlights of the Chicago Bulls thus far this season, and it's like full court passes from Lonzo to, you know, whoever, Levine, DeRozan, and then you have to Caruso in transition. He's still doing the classic headband celebration on the way back. You have Vooch, who, you know, Vooch is an exciting big man as it is. Like, anyone that is that big and can step out and knock down big outside shots, you know, down the stretch, or just, you know, at any point in the game is exciting. So they're almost the perfect group to have all this hype around them right now. A lot of fun, kind of hard to hate the Chicago Bulls group too.
No, it's been great. Speaking of a guy that's hard to hate, it might be the opposite for what we thought was going to be in the league, but LaMelo Ball he's the darling of the NBA now. I think we've reached that level. Like, remember when Steph was first hitting all those threes and everybody's like, oh my God, Steph Curry. And that's why everybody hated him for so much, because they're like, who the fuck is this guy? That's LaMelo now. And I feel like it's deserving. But the second place team in the Eastern Conference right now, the Charlotte Hornets, Donnie, you handed them their first L last night. What was your impression of the Hornets watching that entirety of the Celtics Hornets game last night?
Yeah, so I actually do like that. Well, one, obviously, I like that the Celtics got the victory, but that was the first time I was able to watch a full game of the Charlotte Hornets in this young season, and it was honestly a treat because they are so fun to watch, dude. Like, talk about Miles Bridges. I mean, we see him weekly all over our social media, Instagram, you know, wherever you're going, you're seeing a video of Miles Bridges getting yet another poster. I mean, he literally bangs on everyone in the NBA. So that's always exciting. Then you have LaMelo Ball, as you mentioned. Like, it's funny because I was watching the Celtics broadcast last night. So you have legends Mike Gorman and Brian Scalabrine on, and old Mike Gorman was kind of like, wow, like he was even starting to hop on the LaMelo train. He was like, this dude is legit. Like I didn't really see it all the way last year, but he's just making these nonchalant passes from like 3/4 court, hitting Hayward in stride, like over the defender. And it's leaving broadcasters speechless. And
what about the one he hit Bridges on in the lane where he just like is running full speed?
Yeah,
and
just throws it.
He didn't even toss
head,
it.
Dude.
He didn't even throw it to like a standing still Miles Bridges. Miles Bridges was like running like a curl route, and he was like coming around it still. He threw it to like a spot, and Miles Bridges was there for it. It was nuts. But yeah, keep going. Sorry.
No, it is great. And yeah, I mean that kind of stuff is the reason that he has the excitement that he has around him and the reason that all eyes are kind of on Charlotte right now. I mean, yes, they fell short to the Celtics in overtime last night, but they have a, an interesting team over there in Charlotte. They already have Hayward, who's been playing well, Bridges, as I just talked up, LaMelo, who, people are saying he's going to be a top 10 player in this league in just a couple of years. I mean, he already has the size at point guard. He can make about any pass that any veteran point guard can make in the league right now. His jump shot gets better. I mean, he was hitting near logo shots against the Celtics last night. Some of those coming late fourth quarter and in the overtime period. I mean, he's a gamer. He ended up fouling out of that game because him and Marcus Smart, were kind of trading defensive plays against one another. He got a little too chippy, ended up fouling out. But I mean, this is a team who hasn't even really had Terry Rozier on the court to start their season. No, not at all. So you gotta bring that into consideration. They start 3-1, don't have one of their best scorers, but one of their best players in general, to be honest. So yeah, a lot to like from the two teams being led by the Ball brothers.
Yeah, we should have just led with the Ball brothers. That would have been the way to start it. It's literally their podcast. This is happy hour. I don't know. I couldn't think of something that quick. Yeah, my question for you that you eloquently put how the Hornets have looked. I saw a little bit of the game. Admittedly, I was paying a lot more attention to football on Sunday, but I had on a screen the Nets and Hornets, which the Hornets beat up the Nets. The Nets are a whole other thing. So I haven't seen as much Hornets as you have yet, but as from the parts of the games I've seen a little bit of parts of every other game, I think it's just like, the speed that they play with is just insane. And seeing like Kelly Oubre Jr. do what he's doing right now, wonders what the fuck was going wrong in Golden State last year. Like, why could that dude not because they were trying to make like a spot up shooter. And it's just like, I don't know. The way the Warriors look this
started
year,
5 for 5 last night.
Yeah. The way the Warriors used him last year, I feel like their offense is so much more like fit for him this year. But anyways, it's just he's been incredible to watch. My question for you though is, do you think that the biggest possible storyline of this season is now a Hornets Bulls Eastern Conference Finals, so that we get all the Michael Jordan owner shots in that series? Could you imagine?
They just run back all time.
They just run back the last dance in between every game. Like, just remember this. That would be that's the most. I've never thought that I would ever want a Hornets Bulls Conference Finals for every reason, but now I think I think I'm ready.
That's the narrative that the league doesn't know that they need yet, because you can factor in all the MJ stuff, but what might take even more of the shine if that series were to happen is kind of what I just alluded to, talking about the Ball brothers running these two squads, is LeVar would be on every national media outlet throughout that entire series. If we get a playoff series of Bulls Hornets, it would be LeVar on First Take with Stephen A. just screaming at each other.
I told y'all.
Yeah, I mean, he's already.
Both my sons going to one of my sons going to the NBA Finals. I told you.
It wouldn't be crazy to think by this point that LiAngelo's not, elevated from the G League and is on one of these two teams' bench.
How did we let this happen? LeVar has successfully infiltrated Michael Jordan's legacy with both one son on his former team and one son on his current team that he owns all of. That's ridiculous. That is like the craziest possible scenario for the Ball brothers to end up in MJ's orbit. And it working out. Like LaMelo is the first star that Michael's ever had there. So he can't even like he has to like suck up to. Imagine those contract extension talks when they come up with LeVar in the room. Oh my
strictly
God.
business, I would imagine.
I mean, I'm sure LaMelo at this rate, LaMelo is going to be getting the max whenever he wants a max. So it's just going to be whether he wants to.
Whenever he's eligible,
Yeah. But man,
special, man.
A lot of possibilities.
That's something we're gonna have to speak into existence throughout the season. So, as much as I want those two teams to win now because of this, hopefully they don't beat up on the Celtics too much. But
you got the win last night. Do you want to get into your Celtics here?
Yeah, we can go to that next. You want to talk a little bit about the Ime experience?
I do. I want to know I want to really know how your thoughts on the first 4. It's been 4 games, right? 4 games.
2-2.
There's first 4 games of the Ime experience has been. And mind you, that is notwithstanding, as we talked about earlier, that you have been on the one great side of an overtime, ridiculous, high-scoring affair last night in Charlotte, and on the wrong side of opening night in MSG, which is what we were referring to earlier, double overtime against the Knicks in a game that I've never seen. I don't know if I've watched a regular season game that felt like a playoff game more than that. Like that place was
not to mention the first game of the season.
God. Especially the first game of the season. It was nuts. So yeah, just walk me through the Ime experience.
Yo, just real quick, I'm pretty sure that game, if I'm not mistaken, is the tied for the highest point total in an opening night game in NBA history. So it was cool that, we saw the first game, that it was that exciting of a game, double OT. I thought the Celtics were battling in that game. We couldn't really contain Julius Randle, but no Al Horford that game. They battled back. Tatum was cold as cold can be, but Jaylen Brown career high 46 points. I mean, JB having 46 in the opener, like I'll take that. If
off of COVID too.
Yeah,
like I wasn't expecting anything.
Didn't play basketball for 10 days, dude. He said he was meditating in his room.
Hold up, that's why he balled out though. He meditated for 2 weeks straight, and just if you have like a clear mind, like after doing that, and you go hoop, like that rim looked. It looked like a basket, bro. It looked like I don't know, something big and round that I can't think of right now.
And
oh my God.
And I feel like that's not like a Kyrie Irving type, like, oh yeah, I meditate. Like that's JB, like probably telling the God's honest truth. Like that dude was probably crisscross applesauce on like the floor of his hotel room on the rug, like actually meditating. And then he showed out. 46 points opening night. He really was carrying the Celtics. Missed a dunk in double overtime, which, kind of ended up costing us the game. But like we mentioned, dude, he hadn't played basketball in 10 days. Fresh off of testing positive for COVID. Came out, dropped a career high. So, the first game, a little disappointing, but I love the energy. Second game, I mean, they just got beat up by the Toronto Raptors.
Yeah.
Scotty Barnes happened. Rookie
that's not what you should have to say. Game 2 into his career.
Yeah.
Like, oh fuck. Scotty.
No, but they just simply got outplayed. So many turnovers. I think right under 25 turnovers for the Celtics, which isn't
was that an effort that we've seen them do this last year in the past with them, where they walk in and they just think they're going to run all over the team and then they don't know how to respond. It's just another one of those things.
Yeah, it seemed like that. And they got steamrolled. I think they thought they had an easy win. I think they were confident maybe after the first game, even though they didn't win, just double overtime. They kind of thought, all right, we have to win this next one, and they didn't. So that was tough to drop the first 2 and then bounce back and grab the next 2. They beat up on the young Houston Rockets without Jaylen Brown in the third game. And then last game, again, without Horford, but they got it done last night in Charlotte. So, how this has started with the new coaching experience so far in Boston, It's been good. I like it. They seem to take a liking to the new coaching style. It seems there's a little bit more togetherness on this team, but it just sucks that we still haven't really had a consistent roster. I mean, Brown and Horford have both missed games, and
Richardson.
yeah, Richardson missed opening night, and Brown and
Okay.
Horford, more importantly, they're the two who are coming off COVID. So you have to imagine they're probably, don't have their best legs under them right now. They're probably not 100% conditioning wise. So, I can't complain about 2-2 due to the circumstances right now. And I'm slightly disappointed in the defense just because I think that was, a focal point. Everyone's like top 5 defense for the Celtics. I bought into that. I still think it's very possible. They have the most blocked shots in the league. I think by a pretty sizable margin compared to the next closest, who's in second. So, it's good. Rob Williams is big on that. Al Horford, big shot blockers, the two of them. So I'd like to see a slight improvement with the defense, but the Jays and, some of our new pieces are really doing it. Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum combined for 71 points last night in a win. So, yeah, a little bit of this, a little bit of that, but 2-2, I'm okay with the Ime experience so far.
That's fair. I mean, it's the one thing the same as you, the point that you hit on is I want to see like an elite level defense.
Yeah.
And I don't know, it getting Richardson back in there and seeing like getting him back, like it's been weird. The guard minutes have been weird. Not weird, I guess, just not what I was expecting. I feel like there's still some room to figure out the rotations and everything. He's definitely been trying a lot of shit from what I've seen too. So, but glad to hear it. So positive thumbs up, 1 thumb up, 2 thumbs up, 3 if you had them. How are you feeling?
I give
1 thumb up.
just a solid regular thumbs up right
thumb.
now as far as where the Celtics are at, and I think high ceiling moving forward.
High ceiling. All right, I'm good with that. I'm gonna switch coasts on you now. Here, we're going out to LA.
Let's go.
I've got some words. I have a few words for Lakers fans and the Russell Westbrook experience. Ooh. And Russell Westbrook fans. You know what? I've thought of a way like that we could really pop this podcast off. We could either just become Russ stans and just go full Russ and just we get all the Russ fans on our side because they're strong, or B, we just go anti-Russ, get the Russ stans angry at us, but we get the rest of the internet back on our side. So I'm teetering on the edge here.
Yeah, the beginning of the season. Those are going to be crucial. Which way we walk.
Exactly. I'm like scouting. Like tonight's game on my schedule at 8:30. I'm locking in tonight. Lakers Spurs. Just to see Spurs. Keldon Johnson been balling out, so that's always fun. But the thing about Russell Westbrook is that Russ is always most successful when it's all about him. And so we've heard all this talk the last week about, we got to implement this stuff for Russ, get him doing what he does best and everything. And I look at the box score, what I think Sunday night, and LeBron was like 5 of 15 at half or whatever, or into the third quarter at some point. And Russ had like 18 shots or something, and 13 and 12 assists already. He had 9 assists in the first half. They ended up winning that game on Sunday night against Memphis. So it all worked out. My point being is game 1. We didn't even talk about game 1 again, but the Lakers losing to the Warriors game 1. It was an incredible effort by LeBron, incredible effort by AD, 34 and 33 points respectively. Russ obviously did not have a good night. He was in the single digits for points, was kind of lost on the court. So the last 2 games, the Lakers have made an effort to let Russ let Russ cook. We're stealing that from our boy Russell Wilson out in Seattle. Let him go. I'm just worried. I'm very worried about taking the ball out of LeBron James's hands at any point. And letting Russ do Russ stuff is great when it's going great. But are the Lakers really willing to not to give the ball to Russell Westbrook and try to make it work out, but then minimize what LeBron James is doing on the court? Because that's what I've seen them do a little bit. It hasn't been a lot. So I might be overreacting. but it's a little bit in every game. And the more you do that, it's like, okay, but it's still LeBron out there. And side note, I still don't understand why Anthony Davis isn't playing center. And I think that solves a lot of their problems, because when you have LeBron, AD, Russ, and a center on the floor, there's none of them are elite shooters. Like even AD and Bron are like above average shooters, but it hurts the spacing too. So I don't know. Am I making something out of nothing here with the Lakers, or is there real concerns with what they can do, with the ball with both those guys?
Yeah, I honestly think the biggest concern is themselves right now. Like I feel like even
introspective.
No, like yeah, in a way, like, but it's almost like everyone, including like ourselves and the media, trying to depict like what's wrong, and even internally, like you're like, are they wondering if they need to get Russ involved too much? Like, are they doing too much to get the ball in Westbrook's hands? Is that bad for LeBron James? Like all the stuff you're talking about here, it's almost like how many times have we talked about their embarrassment of riches and like all the Hall of Fame talent they have across this roster? Like you almost need to get to a point where you just have this group go out and play. And obviously some adjustments for sure they need to be made. But I think maybe with a group like this, you have to just let the kinks work themselves out, because I don't know if there is a perfect way to make this work with so many with so many ball dominant guys on the squad. I mean, we talk about James and Westbrook being the two biggest pillars, obviously, but Anthony Davis for his position is a pretty ball dominant guy. Carmelo Anthony, his entire career has been, a ball in my hands guy. And of course, we've seen Carmelo shift his game, but their last game he had 28 points. Like that's a lot of shots going to Melo there too. I think they just have to find what works and, get the best shot available. They have too many shot makers, talented players to, really be getting caught up in if they're doing schemes wrong or this and that. And especially, getting on each other the way we saw with Dwight Howard and Anthony Davis the other night. It's like they're just already setting themselves up to get jabbed by the media so early in the season. And I know LeBron says he loves that because he makes all the Instagram posts and be like, oh, keep that disrespectful to like talk just as loud in the postseason as you are like now during the regular season. Something corny he'll say. Probably, but I don't know, man. I think they're almost doing it to themselves right now. Like I feel like they're overcomplicating things. I think the media might be as well. Yeah, I mean, no one knows. Frank Vogel's their coach, and I promise you, he doesn't know, what the right scheme is to run when Bron and Westbrook are on the court at the same time. No. This is one of those things that you kind of have to just sit back and watch. Like you said, like you're going to be tuning in tonight. You want to watch this Lakers Spurs. That's because of the guys they have out there, and you think they should be winning games, and they probably should be. So if it continues that these guys keep losing, yeah, it's going to be a concern. I don't know if we're ever going to figure out what the right recipe is, until they just start displaying it for us.
And that's exactly right. Like that's why I'm so interested to tune into them at any point, because I just want to see, like, I want to see all the kinks. All right, I'm willing to give it more time, but
it could be the greatest show on the hardwood, but it could be a dumpster fire. At this point in time, it's almost like nowhere in between right now with these guys.
There is nowhere in between. I'm just noting that we're putting this. I'm noting it for the future, putting it on the record. My concern of seeing these two, because I've never seen LeBron James defer in his career to anybody. He didn't do it to Dwayne Wade. He didn't do it to Kyrie Irving. He's kind of done it to Anthony Davis, but like not really, because AD doesn't need the ball. So this is like
more
the first
so just test. Asking Davis to like grab more rebounds.
Yeah. And if the person that he ends up doing it is Russell Westbrook, that's just like the funniest possible outcome in LeBron's career, is that of all the people he's played with, it was Russ that he was like, you know what? This is the guy. He can take the ball out of my hands. It's never happened. It's never happened before. It's just, it's interesting to watch. It's really like jarring to watch, but it's interesting to watch. All right. Any other teams we want to hit on before we hit our big story?
Talk about the Warriors a little bit. The Golden State Warriors.
You want to just give them their props here?
Yeah, I mean, well, we talked about we mentioned it a bit at the top of the show, but I feel like we talked about the teams atop the Eastern Conference. The Golden State Warriors are atop the West, 3-0. Steph keeps doing it, kind of a reminder of last year. They weren't the best team, but he didn't really have too much to work with. He was still dropping huge performances night in, night out. I don't think anyone really expected them to be bad this season, but not too many people were willing to put them in the, top half of their Eastern Conference standings. But like we mentioned, and like you said, we've kind of been back in this Warriors group. We believe in Steph. We know what he is. We've seen it for enough years. I mean, I would assume the entire basketball world has seen it for enough years, but I guess not. But yeah, I guess just give the Warriors their whole. As a whole, their flowers, because if we're giving credit to the Chicago Bulls and all the hype they have right now, Golden State, man, 3-0, very small sample size, but they haven't lost yet, and they look legit. The young guys look legit. Steph's back. It's great.
Steph is back. Lock in the win the Western Conference odds right now before they start skyrocketing. That's what I'm saying. We've been trying to tell you for weeks the Warriors are going to be nasty, and all they've done is be nasty. What this is fucked up? I just got a phone call. I'm hijacking the podcast quick, but my college, my beautiful Kent State University, calls me as it comes up as potential spam every night because they call me and try to get me to donate money.
Oh my god!
We all just graduated. Me and you both just graduated in 2020, the worst year to graduate in ever. And these motherfuckers are calling. They're like, "Hey, can you give us $100?" Like, no, I just gave you all this money, and now you want more? Like, leave me alone. And I love that it shows up as spam. So I saw potential spam, Kent, Ohio. I was like, get the fuck out of here. It's unreal. Anyways, Steph Curry. Whatever money you aren't going to donate to your university, put it on the Warriors winning the Western Conference. That's pretty much where I'm at with the Warriors. I think that their ceiling is so high. The way they've looked now, if Clay comes back and looks good, they're dangerous, man. They are dangerous.
Yeah, and we gave the Warriors their flowers. It's a good segue into this. It's a new segment on the show, the Happy Hour Hooper of the Week. Jake, who is the Happy Hour Hooper of the Week?
It is our boy. I'm going to imagine like a bell and sound. Dun, 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 sound, Steph Curry. Steph Curry, Hooper of the Week. I think it goes without saying. Dude just balled out. He didn't have a great game opening night, actually. Still had a triple-double, but he was 20, 11, and 12. And then has just been.
He just started cold that night.
And then, after that was just like, you know what? I remember I'm good at shooting the basketball, and just was lights out for 2 games straight. 46-point night, 45-point night. Oh, I can't spell. So don't mind that. Yeah, Steph Curry, you deserve it. He's the inaugural. He'll probably get it a lot more.
We mentioned they started 3-0, and then his averages through the 3 games, 31 points, 9 rebounds, 7 assists. Obviously, MVP-like numbers. Small sample size, as we keep mentioning for all of this. We know we don't want to overreact, but we have to react to something. This is what we have right now.
Let's overreact.
Honestly, I might, because I don't know. I don't know what turned for me, dude. I don't know if it's because if you're if you podcast about basketball, you have to obsess over Steph Curry or what. But I had years of my life where I despised
it's in the fine print.
And now I just really can't help but back him on everything that he does and the way he plays the game. I always respected him, always knew how good he was. I don't know, maybe there's just the years that Kyrie was in Boston and, they kind of had some battles with the Warriors in the regular season.
Those games were nuts. They were always like down to the last second. Some
At the
crazy
Warriors'
shit.
peak, for some reason, like the Celtics were the only team that really like gave them a go in the regular season.
Yeah, it was wild.
But yeah, I mean, I can't say enough good things about the guy. He's just so good for the sport of basketball. He single-handedly changed the game. I know we exhaust that, but he really did. And you know, people pay attention now because you are getting it. We are living the Steph Curry experience. He's not always going to be here. He's one of the greatest to ever do it. I mean, he had 25 in the first quarter already through the three first games. I feel like at this point, Steph's inviting the people to sleep on him. Kind of last year, there's people across the league that thought Curry was the MVP and thought he even could have got it with the Warriors' subpar record. And then, we're all just patiently waiting. No one is waiting, as much as Steph is, but for that Splash Bro to return. Klay Thompson's coming back sooner, it's creeping up. He's going to be here right around the holiday season, and then the league should seriously be on watch because they already have a guy like Jordan Poole who's stepping up big time.
Yep.
Draymond's playing good basketball. I mean, Steph, Hooper of the week, and for good reason. The Warriors are crushing it right now, man.
I couldn't have said it better. I agree with you. I don't know. People used to really hate Steph Curry, and there's still a lot of people that really hate Steph Curry. As a Cavs fan, I was outside Game 6 when he threw the mouth guard, and the amount of fuck Steph Curry, like that, the whole city of Cleveland heard the fuck Steph Curry chants coming out of that place after that game. But Steph is just one of those guys, man. He's just so incredible. Like you can't help but not watch. And it's also when you play against him, you realize how terrified you are of him the whole time. And that's when you really respect somebody like in sports. Like is when in their respective sport you're against them, you're just like literally on the edge of your seat, terrified something's gonna happen that's horrible for your team because this guy just does it. That was my experience. You got the other end of this experience. My whole life I did not with Tom Brady, was just knowing that anytime you're going against Tom Brady, something bad is usually going to happen to you. That's pretty much the same thing. And that really was like the same timeline of the Steph renaissance and the Brady re-renaissance in those years. Yeah. It was all kind of along the same things where people were just like, this is just nuts that these dudes are doing this. So let's just like appreciate it.
Like once, I don't know what to compare the Brady. Like I feel like Steph has a couple of them, but Brady like sitting on the sideline with his head down, like waiting to get the ball back, is equivalent to like Steph shooting the three and turning around before it goes in, or Steph hanging the mouthpiece out of his mouth, or like maybe after like the first Steph shimmy after a 3-pointer. That's just like, it for Brady when he's hanging his head on the sideline, and then like you know it for Steph when he does like one of those three things. It just puts fear into the opponents, like you mentioned. Like people literally fear playing this dude.
For sure. All right. Speaking of his Splash Brother teammate that we were talking about, Klay Thompson, the NBA 75 came out. And I don't know, me and you, I feel like we talked about trying to talk about the 75, but we didn't watch a lot of these guys. I didn't watch most. So it's like, I needed to like look at the list, take it in, be like, okay, I see all these names. And then like kind of see all the like older heads get angry about guys that weren't on the list. And then be like, okay, there we go. Like, let's see, let's jump and see where it is, just to give the respect of all these people that have actually seen it. But the two snubs that we've really had were Dwight Howard and Klay Thompson. Now we posted the other day, Klay Thompson, the Warriors got him a nice little 77 jersey for 77th best player, that's incredible. Klay should just change his number to 77 this year. That would be the next level shit.
But that might hurt his legacy, and then maybe he'll never make the list.
Exactly. And then maybe he would never get it. They hurt his feelings. Do you think either of these guys have an argument? Do you think Kyrie's another snub on there? He has an argument. What was your like impression of the list? The arguments came after. Do you think it looks fine? Like, I mean, some of the names that guys are taking off, like, is there anything like there? Because for me, it's just like you can make arguments for a number of these guys, like in any way, which way you want.
Yeah, I feel like outside of like, I'll give it 20, but I feel like I could even like go in and find only 15 that you can definitively say can't argue, like absolutely set in stone on this list. But outside of that, I feel like there's an argument to be made, like whichever direction you want to go. Like if you're, like you said, an older dude who got to see all of these guys play and can compare them to the current guys, that's just, a knowledge of the game that I obviously don't have. I know, most of, if not all, the names on this list. That doesn't mean I know them as well as I know Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown, who neither of them are on the list, obviously. But I'm just saying, like, players that I watch closely now.
After that game Wednesday night from Brown, though, come on.
I'm not gonna say that because I don't want to get hate mail, but hey, Paul Pierce is on there, and quite a few Celtics. But
I was shocked. I kind of was too, dude. To be honest. And no one's even trying to take him off either. They're just all good with it. I'm like,
and he's not the name that like people are coming after, dude. Like maybe they respected the whole, Paul Pierce going live on Instagram with strippers or something. But no one's coming after the truth. That's why I've kind of been keeping my mouth shut in all this. Like, to be honest, like I don't want to make come out and make a statement and people just be like, shut up, like Paul Pierce shouldn't be on there. I'm like, honestly, like I could listen to a couple of those arguments. But another Celtic that I want to bring up is like so many people are like, dude, like Kyrie, Clay, like Dwight, they're all better than Bob Cousy, dude. Like that guy couldn't play in like any of the last like 4 generations of the NBA, which is like true. So that's why it's hard for me to even speak on it because I never even watched the dude play. I know who he is. He's obviously because he's a Celtics legend. But it is tough, and those conversations are literally impossible, and players from that generation and players from this generation can't be compared. So the list, is already flawed just because of that reason alone.
Yeah.
But I am glad that Clay did the and kind of laughed and was able to joke about the whole 77 jersey because honestly, he was worrying me a little bit. He Instagrammed twice about it. He Instagram storied saying that he was disrespected and then woke up upset. And then Instagram storied again and said, I slept and I'm still pissed off. So it's like, yeah, I get it. And like, he is one of the names that should be in consideration for maybe kicking some of these older dudes off or maybe dudes who are less talented than Clay. But I don't know. I thought he may have been making too much of a fuss about it. I think, in my opinion, Dwight Howard has the most reason to be upset.
Dwight has the most reason to be angry.
Yes, 100%. He has the resume. I mean, he does. Clay has a absolutely fantastic resume. Like, don't get me wrong. I actually saw one take that I liked that, we should consider this list of just thinking about, if you think about the 75 years of the NBA, if you take someone off that list, can the story still be told without them? And I have a hard time telling the 75-year story of the NBA without Dwight Howard. Yeah, because of the impact he had when he entered the league and how much of that impact he carried for like his first 6 to 8 years.
It was him, LeBron. It was like him, Kobe, LeBron, Wade, Melo.
Yeah.
Those were the 5 guys. That's what it was. Dwight Howard was one of those 5.
He was the second coming of Shaquille O'Neal. And granted, obviously that never amounted to be. And there is
Shaq bullied him. Shaq bullied him for his whole career too. So he had that, unfortunately.
From just him being absolutely massive all over every sports commercial, the deals with Adidas, him on NBA video game covers, the Superman dunk contest, and then he goes out and now he has a ring, obviously, with the last one with the Lakers. He has one of the most impressive big man resumes ever. I mean, you talk about, just defensive teams, all NBA first team, all-star appearances, you name it. I mean, Dwight's got it on his resume. So, he's someone, obviously, I think should be on the list if you're asking me. But it's just such a tough subject to consider and argue. And in my opinion, ultimately, it's kind of a waste of time. But I get it because this is their livelihood and how they're portrayed in the public eye. So I get when people feel disrespected being left off the list, but it's just I hope I never have to find myself in a situation where I have to be part of making a list like this.
Well, I like how they did it right where they kept the 50 original from the last list and added 25 new ones, which is, I think that's the way you have to do it. Like, keep the list the same and add 25 new names. Klay Thompson will be involved in the next 25. There's no doubt in my mind. And NBA 100, Klay Thompson will be in there. Dwight Howard should be as well. Do you think Bronny Jr. makes the NBA 100? What are the odds on that? We should get some NBA 100 odds. 25-year future bets.
Who'd you say?
Put it in on
Bronny James.
Bronny's getting a vote. I'm getting LaMelo a vote right now. Give me some odds on LaMelo. I'll buy some stock there.
Tatum.
Some Luka stock, some Tatum stock for sure. Not Zion. I would not touch the Zion NBA 100. Trey Young. Is Trey Young an NBA 100 player? That's an interesting one. In 25 years, is Trey Young one of the 25 most influential players? So.
I'm going to take a flyer on Anthony Edwards.
I think he should be on 75. that kid's literally going to be the best player. You want to get
Clay real mad? Send him a DM of what you just said.
Yeah, no. And I think Anthony Edwards is going to be the best player in the league in like 3 years. That's my new like pole. I'll stand on that hill and die on it at this point. I think that kid is fucking electric, and he's barely even knows how to play basketball yet. He started playing basketball junior year of high school. He has no idea what he's even doing out there.
I hate when people say that. Well, not it makes me upset when basketball players who are in the NBA say that. When they're like, or when it's like a 7-footer and he's like, yeah, I started playing basketball like 2 years ago. And he's averaging like 20 and 10 in the league now. It's like, dude, I played basketball my entire life.
Well, here's the thing is what they don't tell you is that he's talking about organized basketball, but Anthony Edwards probably played pickup since he was 5 years old and has been dunking on kids since he was like 8.
He would probably leave baseball practice and then just go dominate the basketball team in pickup.
Yeah. And everybody would be like, yo, you need to play basketball. And he's like, nah, fuck basketball. Yeah. And then somebody finally got to him and was like, no, like, if you play basketball, you're going to make the league. And he was like, okay, sounds good to me. And now he's putting up 25. He's averaging 25 a game right now.
Yeah.
It's unreal.
You got to love the Ant-Man.
He's not even 82 games in. He's not even 82. He's not even a full actual season into his NBA career. And he's averaging 25.
That is wild
it's
to
nuts.
think about.
But, all right.
One last thing on this list here before we move on.
Yes.
I will say, because I do think Klay Thompson overreacted, in my opinion. I think, at some point, I think, he needs to drop it. And he did drop it. We talked about how he laughed about it now and whatever. I think he was a little too mad. But if you are, like, if I'm putting myself in Klay Thompson's shoes, I'm looking at this list right now. And I do think he has a point, where he looks, and of course, Reggie Miller. But if you go to the point that what I was talking about, you can't tell the 75 years without Reggie. I get that. But I feel like he sees Reggie as one of the all-time shooters like himself. I think Klay's a better shooter than Reggie already. And then he has the rings that Reggie just never got. And granted, Klay got them in part probably because he was playing with Steph Curry. But I just feel like it's guys like that
and Kevin Durant
probably make him upset. Yeah. No, I know. But then, Ray Allen's on here as well. And, Allen played with Pierce and KG in Boston and then got him with Bron and D-Wade. And I don't know. I feel like it's guys like that who, he gets compared to all the time. But he has more accolades than those guys. Or at least more championships. And, people already consider him a better shooter. So it's things like that where that's, the way I see it is probably what pissed him off when he looked at the list.
I'm with that. You know what? I was watching a Steph interview the other day, and he was talking about making I think because he's gonna pass Reggie, right, this year, or pass Ray Allen, one of the two, for 3-pointers made or something like that. And he was like, I know, the general, if I hit 3 to 4 threes a game, on average, I know the general area of time it should be this year or whatever like that. And he's talking about those two guys, and he's like,
we're really doing it to pass Ray Allen.
Ray Allen, yeah. He said
he's like 120 something ish behind.
120-ish. So it's probably later in the season, like almost near the end of the season then. Not if he keeps playing like he is right now. Anyways, the point of this story was that he made just like one little comment about how him, Reggie, and Ray Allen are really the only three people in the history that know what it feels like to be able to shoot like that. And the first thought that went in my head is, I was like, if Clay saw this interview, he would lose his mind. And it's exactly to what you just said. I don't think he'd actually get pissed. He probably would He probably definitely would chirp stuff about it and everything. But just in agreement with what you're saying about where Clay thinks he like exists on that plane. He definitely thinks he is a better shooter than all three of those guys, to be honest. And that's, to be a great shooter like that, you have to have that confidence. So it's not surprising at all. Reggie is definitely the most interesting case, but like you said about telling the story of the NBA, like Reggie has a whole fucking documentary 30 for 30 after him. So it's just like, he's hard to, he had a whole Last Dance episode. Like Reggie's a prominent figure, but I know that dudes in the league are like out on Reggie a lot too. So
he's a weird one. I definitely, all my comments aside, I think he should be on the list for what it's worth. I had to bring up, I was trying to dive into the
Reggie. Fuck Reggie Miller. Nobody likes Reggie Miller, so it's okay. Reggie, I'm sorry if you ever think about coming on the podcast. I'll scrub this out. You're all good.
Once he's done with the Wendy's commercials, Reggie's getting right on here.
Nah, I love the Wendy's. I would live.
No, me too. I love Wendy's.
I would live the Reggie Bush one too. Like he's just out there eating the breakfast sandwich. I'm like that. I would live that life all day. Oh man, that sounds great. All right, we're getting out of here, but you're gonna give everybody a dub tonight before we leave. Positive vibes only. Let it rip.
So a new segment every time we go live on here and there's games that night. I think I will be giving the people a player's prop of my choice for. It's going to be from a game that's happening the night of, which tonight we have Steph Curry and the Warriors. I know we've probably exhausted you guys with all the Warriors talk, but Steph Curry and the Warriors are taking on the Oklahoma City Thunder in about a half an hour Eastern time right now at 8 p.m. Steph Curry over 6.5 assists. The odds on that are plus 140 according to DraftKings. Steph Curry over 6.5 assists. Pretty weak opponent in the Oklahoma City Thunder. You can expect Steph to be getting his teammates involved early. He shouldn't really have to do too much shooting. I'm sure he will, but I'm anticipating a big game from Steph and a game where he gets his teammates involved. Over 6.5 assists for Steph Curry. Lock it in. Fade or follow if you dare. And that's the prop.
Sorry, I was trying to unmute myself there. I couldn't figure that out. Yeah, if you dare, because it's spooky season out here. We didn't even talk about Halloween is Sunday. We're gonna miss Halloween with this podcast. Any Halloween wishes there? What's your favorite Halloween candy? That's what we're gonna leave on.
Not candy corn. I actually tweeted about it today. Candy corn is gross, dude.
God damn it.
I tweeted about how much I hate candy corn. I said it's an insult if someone offers me candy corn. I take it as an insult.
Oh, man.
But if I do have to enter, I don't know. Is there I guess candy corn is the only Halloween candy I can think of.
Well, just whatever candy. Any
stuff that I would get in my bag when I was a kid.
Yeah. What would you be most
The mini Milky Ways have always been a staple for me.
Close to your heart.
The fun size Milky Ways. Yeah.
Okay. That's solid. I agree with that. I'm a candy corn truther through and through. I honestly, I think I found this out. I don't know when it first occurred to me that there was a big contingent that was so anti-candy corn. It was probably in college. I think freshman year of college, I was exposed. I think I went to one of those pumpkin patches or something. There was candy corn. And I got hyped, and someone called me out bad. I was like, "What the fuck are you talking about?" I was like, "What do you mean?" I didn't realize it was so passionate.
Everyone's like, "Yo, just put that down. We're gonna pretend like we didn't see that."
Yeah. We're not going to say anything again, but just, let's relax. I probably never saw those people again. They're probably done with me after that. Yeah, dude, I didn't realize that candy corn was so aggressive. I'm a big candy corn guy, though. I'll defend it through and through. That's not my favorite though. I would have to go with Reese's, little fun size Reese's. You can't go wrong. You can look, or you know what I would really enjoy too? Smarties. When I was little, it's just pure sugar going like straight to your veins.
I still
bro.
like Smarties a lot.
Oh yeah, it's literally just a little cube of sugar, and you're just ingesting 18 packs of them because they're so tiny, and then you're not sleeping for 7 hours. But it sounds great to me. That's what I'm going with. Smarties and Reese's. That's dinner tonight, baby. That's what we're going with. All right. Anything to leave with here?
No, that's it.
All right. Well, follow us at Happy Hour Hoops 1, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. Subscribe at Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Happy Hour Hoops. For Donovan Holden, this is Jake Micah. Have a great week, folks. Enjoy basketball. Enjoy Halloween. Stay hydrated. Eat some good candy. Whatever you got to do.